Hi, everybody. I'm Alan Seslowsky, and thanks for tuning into RosterWatch. The 2020 draft process has been one of the most unique to date. The limit on access to players, metrics, and medicals has forced teams to prepare in non-traditional ways. Teams need to parse through information, connect the dots in order to form proper player values and evaluations. Predicting what will happen is even tougher. On this video today, we're going to go through 3 scenarios that could happen in the top 10 of this weekend's draft. What are Detroit's options with the 3rd overall pick? Presumably, Joe Burrow and Chase Young will go off the board at 1 and 2, and that's where the draft gets interesting. When Detroit comes on the clock at 3, most mock drafts have them taking Jeff Okudah out of Ohio State at cornerback. Detroit would love to trade back with Miami or the Chargers in order to pick up additional draft capital and still get their man Okudah. But on RosterWatch podcast number 238, special guest Mike Bann put forward a scenario where the Patriots trade up to the 3rd overall pick to take Justin Herbert. In Bann's scenario, New England gives Detroit pick 23 overall and Stephon Gilmore. Wow. The next scenario is the Miami Dolphins. And for the last 18 months, tanking for Tua was the narrative that dominated fantasy Twitter and all of the NFL networks. The landscape has completely changed. Tua is now a perceived elevated injury risk. Herbert's pre-draft process was positive, and Miami has the 5th overall pick. Miami, if they're leaning towards being more risk-averse, there is a world we live in where they could talk themselves into Justin Herbert as a better long-term fit than taking Tua. Inevitably, Tua versus Herbert will be an interesting case study for the next half decade, the classic upside versus safety draft pick. Lastly, Arizona at 8 has plenty of options. When they go on the clock at 8, there'll be offensive and defensive prospects available. RosterWatch believes they'll lean towards the offensive side of the ball, but what position is the real question? They can shore up the offensive line, or they can add an elite wide receiver prospect. No team has played more 10 personnel, that's 4 wide receivers on the field at the same time, than Arizona did in 2019. Another narrative is that Kyler Murray is familiar with his former teammate Ceedee Lamb. Less practice time in the offseason for QBs and wide receivers to develop chemistry could play into that decision for Arizona to add an elite wide receiver prospect. Arizona did trade for DeAndre Hopkins in the offseason, but adding strength to strength is an underrated tactic that successful NFL teams do use. The fantasy excitement would bubble over if Arizona did take Lamb at 8. The more probable scenario is that they add a right tackle or trade down. Tampa Bay could be a viable trade partner for Arizona if they want to add a tackle to shore up their line for Tom Brady. Okay, that's it for this week, Roster Watch Nation. Remember to like and subscribe to get notifications when we go live.